Most horror games want to terrify you. Silent Hill 2 wants to haunt you. I haven't been able to stop thinking about Silent Hill 2 since finishing it. I expected some scares going in, but what I truly didn't expect was to be confronted with arguably the most gut-wrenching exploration of the human psyche. A terrifying depiction of the nightmares that haunt us in our subconscious, and by the end, a strangely cathartic experience. The story of James Sunderland is deep in a way I really wasn't expecting going into it. It might surprise you to know that I had zero clue what Silent Hill 2 was prior to playing it, so the remake seemed like the perfect time to experience a game many called one of the greats. The entire week after finishing it, I felt sad. Not sad in a bad way, but sad in a way that made me truly stop and think. Think about the art I just consumed and what it means. Not many games do that to me. This is more than a horror game. It is a piece of art that uses the horror to enhance its very layered message. The horror is used to inform you about the character you're playing, the struggles he has, and the demons he refuses to face, but now in a very literal sense must. So now, 1 full year since its initial release, and having processed it a little deeper, I think it's a great time to talk about the highs of Silent Hill 2, the lows of Silent Hill 2, and why I honestly can't stop thinking about it.
See? I'm real.
This is Silent Hill 2, 1 year later. Here is an absolutely wild statistic. 98% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So if you like deep dives into games you love, subscribing really helps me keep investigating more of them. But with that being said, let's get back to Silent Hill 2. When the Silent Hill 2 remake got revealed, fans of the original were immediately and justifiably skeptical. Bloober Team, the developers crafting the remake, were responsible for games like The Medium and Layers of Fear. In their own right, okay to good horror games, but nothing at the same level of prestige as Silent Hill 2. When the combat trailer released, that's when even more positive sentiment started to dissipate. The combat looked clunky by modern standards, and for those unaccustomed to Silent Hill 2's original music, story, and design like myself, the game just honestly seemed a bit generic and dated. It wasn't a good second impression, and even looking at the trailer today, after experiencing the brilliance of the game, it's hard to fault most people's initial reaction to that trailer. For some, Bloober Team also seemed like a curious choice to develop the remake, but when looking at their prior games, it's, at least to me, very easy to see why they were a perfect fit. Their prior games at their core have consistently focused on deeply personal, character-driven journeys, where the protagonists often uncover unsettling truths about themselves, which honestly sounds perfect for a studio tackling something like Silent Hill 2. Even before being handed the project, Bloober Team's past work showed Silent Hill's influence. Layers of Fear, for example, had multiple endings tied to almost invisible player choice. Letting you change the outcome of the story without telling you that you are is something that's found in Silent Hill's design as well. In many ways, Silent Hill 2 was an opportunity to reinterpret a game that had already inspired much of Bloober Team's creative pillars, and all they had to do now was just not screw it up. The release date finally came on the 8th of October 2024, and despite some skepticism, the game released to nearly universal critical acclaim. And that's when I personally started to become interested in playing the game. I am by no means what you would call a horror fan, and in all honesty, I do struggle to complete games like this because the stress can often become unbearable. Now and then when a game is really great and I truly connect with its story, I force myself to put on my big boy undies and play something that really gets me out of my comfort zone. And let me tell you that Silent Hill 2 is the furthest that comfort zone has ever stretched. So let's get into the highs and lows of Silent Hill 2. Starting with A Restless Dream.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
From the very first moment, Silent Hill establishes an atmosphere that is oppressive yet strangely beautiful. The fog is absolutely everywhere, perfectly obstructing your view just enough to never allow you to ever be truly comfortable. There is a dreamlike characteristic to this horrifying place, and the fog acts like a sort of veil, like the town isn't ready to fully reveal itself yet. It all feels so lived in, yet it's almost entirely abandoned, filled with empty shops, diners, and apartment blocks. Walking through the old and dingy woodside apartments, for example, feels like I'm intruding, as if I'm truly walking through someone's private home. The bedding, the stained carpets, the birthday balloons. The life that was once here still echoes in the silence of this eerie town. It's beautiful in a very unsettling, sometimes even sad way. The sound design is also just impeccable. Most horror games have good audio, but this is really on a different level to anything I've ever experienced. The subtle sway of window drapes and a faint breeze. The tapping of water on a metal pipe. The rattling of crops. It's all fantastically done, but it is the devastatingly creepy sounds that emanate from the pure pitch black darkness that your tired old flashlight is desperately trying to illuminate in front of you that takes this game to a whole other level of terrifying. The amount of times I needed to take a breather, not because I saw something scary, but because I heard something scary, is really unprecedented for me. I think it boils down to this game's use of light and the lack thereof. One moment the sun can beautifully illuminate a hallway, or shine subtly through a window onto a desk and make the scene feel like a warm, melancholic dream. And then the next, it gets so blindingly dark that you wonder if you'll ever see that warm sun ever again. During the darkness, wearing headphones that truly make the 3D nature of the space come to life, and then hearing a subtle whisper of someone you can't see behind you is up there with the best and worst gaming experiences of my life. Honestly, I have never been so terrified by just sound alone, and I would say that there are sections later in the game, like Toluca Prison, that could verge on being unbearable for most. It is truly industry-leading sound design, and I don't see many people mention this online, so instead of hammering on the beauty of the visuals, which, let's be honest, is rather evident, I thought I'd put a bit of spotlight on the work that the sound does to bring this horrific game to life, because for me, it's what truly sold everything.
Where did she go?
I don't know. Let's look around.
The town and various buildings you enter like Brookhaven Hospital are all designed like intricate puzzles that require intense focus to navigate, whilst trying not to shit yourself from the intense fear you're currently experiencing. Streets are blocked, doors don't open, and paths are obscured by the fog. The map then dynamically updates to show dead ends with hand-drawn scribbles by James, encouraging you to piece together a suitable route to your next objective. Now, I wouldn't call this difficult to do, it's just a little frustrating at times because it often resulted in a ton of backtracking for me personally. Toluca Prison being a prime example of a maze-like structure entrenched in darkness, making an already difficult to navigate location even more difficult by removing any form of light. In the end, I did find my way, but I can't deny that it's maybe a little bit more difficult to navigate than it actually needs to be. How objectives work is also rather interesting. It's all kind of vibes based. You discover small details like a matchbox on a corpse pointing to Nellie's bar, naturally suggesting your next objective's location without ever holding your hand. The game almost never directly tells you what to do next, you just kind of figure it out naturally based on the circumstances you're in. Now this is a bit of a double-edged sword because although I like the game not constantly telling me what to do or where precisely to go, I did get lost more times than I care to admit or got stuck on some of the game's more difficult puzzles, of which there are actually a few. These puzzle designs are intricate and expertly designed. I didn't know that Silent Hill had a rich history of puzzles in their title, so this was a really welcome surprise. I felt that most of the puzzles were perfectly tuned and looked phenomenal. Just difficult enough that you struggle for a few solid minutes, but not so hard that you completely give up. But seriously, screw that patient bracelet puzzle in Brookhaven Hospital. There are arguably way tougher puzzles down the line, but this one gets the prize for making me feel the dumbest after figuring it out. The solution was way simpler than my dumb brain could comprehend, so key tip, don't overcomplicate every puzzle. Traversal in general can sometimes feel slow and clunky, like moving a container to reposition it so you can vault over something never really feels good to control or honestly looks good. James isn't a superhero, so he moves very slowly, which is fine, but it also does come at the cost of creating a fun-to-play protagonist in favor of a more true-to-the-story protagonist. In the end, I feel like that is most certainly the right call, but there are moments, especially during the boss fights or when you're surrounded by more than just one enemy, that James's combat capabilities do get stretched a bit too thin. James has a very basic melee and dodging mechanic and also can fire a few weapons. It is mechanically very simple, but one major compliment I will give it is that it is constantly tense. Clever enemy placement where some lurk in the shadows and others crawl under the grates, some attack you just straight head on. James is never comfortable, and the combat allows you to react to that very quickly. Every main chapter of the game usually culminates with a boss encounter, and these escalate in both mechanical and emotional intensity. I would go so far to say that on an artistic front, these are the greatest boss designs I've ever seen. Deeply disturbing yet remaining narratively cohesive. It's not often that what you fight in a game is so directly tied to the underlying themes of the narrative. So for all the creepy boss designs I really wish I could unsee, largely referring to you, Fleshlip, the fact that the story sticks the landing, making the journey not only worth it but poignant, well then I guess these memorable albeit disturbing designs at least serve somewhat of a purpose outside of just being disgusting and creepy. Because Silent Hill 2 does what I truly appreciate with horror. It makes the scares matter to the story. It's not just scary for the sake of being scary, it's scary for the sake of the message. And what is that message? Well, that is a bit more complicated. Maybe just as complicated as the main protagonist, James Sunderland. I think it's safe to say that Silent Hill 2 might be the most terrifying horror game I've ever played, for more reasons than simply just the horror. Silent Hill 2 is an exploration of guilt, trauma, and internal suffering of the mind. It's terrifying because it reveals something about the complicated relationships we share with the darkest parts of ourselves, the things we never dare say out loud but think in disgusted silence. On the surface, James comes to Silent Hill searching for his deceased wife, Mary, after receiving a mysterious letter claiming she's waiting for him in their special place. But as the game slowly reveals, James's true motivations are far more complex. He isn't just an innocent husband drawn back by love, he's a man haunted by what he's done. James didn't just lose Mary to the illness, he ended her life himself. Not out of one clean, clear-cut motivation, but a combination of emotions, exhaustion, resentment, and despair after watching her suffer. It's a horrible act, but I think what Silent Hill 2 does really well is show how far something as difficult as a partner going through a terminal illness can push both individuals in a relationship. It is very nuanced, it's tough on both, the patient and the caregiver, the husband and the wife. It's a shocking revelation, made all the more shocking when James reveals his own inner truth.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I told you. I wanted the pain to end.
Yeah. You did. But that's not why I did it. The truth is, I hated you. I wanted you out of the way. I wanted my life back.
Silent Hill then reflects this shocking truth back at him. The horrors James encounters are all manifestations of his own psyche. Monsters like Pyramid Head, the nurses, and the leg mannequins are all physical embodiments of his guilt, his frustration, and suppressed sexual desires, punishing him in ways that his conscious mind cannot. Pyramid Head, one of the more iconic characters in particular, isn't just a random monster stalking him. He is an executioner, a manifestation of the punishment James believes he deserves. Luke Roberts, the actor playing James Sunderland, brought such a nuanced performance to this character. There is a pain in his eyes and a subtle hint of grief in his voice. It is by no means an over-the-top performance, but it is one of the most striking for exactly that reason.
Why do you keep running away from me? And how do you know about Mary?
I just do. What's the big deal?
Why can't you just tell me?
You gonna yell at me if I don't?
No. I won't. Please, just... I need to know.
James feels strangely trustworthy, yet you know he's not being fully honest with himself or the people he's interacting with. You know this just by his performance, by all the words left unsaid. James is offered a drink in the scene but refuses to take it, yet for a brief moment longingly stares at the glass, saying way more than dialogue ever could. It's only a logical assumption that his loneliness and emotional distress after killing his wife could have led to the bottom of a bottle in order to cope. It's a layered performance because this character and the story is layered. I didn't of course know this before playing it, but as I continued my journey through Silent Hill, I began to realize that everything seems slightly off, more so than normal for a horror game. The mysteriously abandoned town covered in an almost blinding fog, the eerie message sent from his supposedly dead wife that brought him here, characters who see things that most normal people would react to in horror with a strange calmness. Silent Hill didn't feel real, although it looked real. It felt and reacted more like a dream, and as I played more, it took on the form of a twisted nightmare. I remember the first time James encountered Pyramid Head in a long dark hallway, barely separated by a few thin metal bars. I was freaking out, yet James remained completely silent and calm, as if this was nothing new. Now, I'm not saying that this entire experience is a dream and that Silent Hill is simply a figment of James's imagination. In fact, I myself am not 100% sure. There are countless video essays online done by way more informed individuals that break down the lore and history of Silent Hill in greater depth than I ever could. What I can speak to though is what Silent Hill represents to me. Real or not, Silent Hill is a reflection of the damaged person's mind, a place that externalizes guilt, trauma, and unresolved emotions. Dream or not, this is real to the person experiencing it. Even Maria, the woman James meets in Silent Hill who so closely resembles Mary, is an extension of his psyche, a twisted, idealized version of his wife. She's everything James wished Mary could still be: healthy, sexual, and affectionate. But her repeated brutal deaths at Pyramid Head's hands forced James to confront the reality of what he did to his own wife. Each encounter tears away his denial until the truth can no longer be hidden even from himself. The supporting characters like Angela, Eddie, and Laura all serve as mirrors to James. Each embodies a different form of suffering: Angela's trauma, Eddie's denial, and Laura's innocence. Together they show that everyone who comes to Silent Hill carries something that they can't escape, but also something that James carries within himself. Now look, your interpretation of Silent Hill could be vastly different from someone else's, and I think that is the whole point. Some people try to simplify Silent Hill 2, saying James is either good or bad, justified or unjustified in killing his wife, but the truth is far more complicated and nuanced. It isn't a story of clear-cut heroes or villains, but of a relationship collapsing under unbearable pressure. Love, resentment, grief, it's all tangled together in ways that feel painfully real. What makes it resonate is the weight of everything left unsaid, because speaking some of those truths would have caused more pain. It's the kind of game that refuses to leave you alone. Long after you put down the controller, it follows you quietly, patiently, until some random moment in your day where you suddenly find yourself thinking about James, about Mary, and that town, Silent Hill. It digs at that uncomfortable space between guilt, grief, and denial, and asks you to sit there, even when you desperately want to look away. And maybe that's why, 1 year later, I still can't stop thinking about it. Because Silent Hill 2 isn't just about James Sunderland. It is about us, the parts of ourselves we'd rather bury, the truths we'd rather not face, and the pain we'd rather not acknowledge. I wonder what I would see in my own personal Silent Hill. Most horror games want to terrify you, but Silent Hill 2 wants to haunt you. And in that sense, I think it succeeds more than any game I've ever played, and I don't think I'll forget it for quite some time. If you found some form of enjoyment from this video, consider leaving a like, as it really does help me, and subscribe if you'd enjoy a channel that, simply put, investigates some of your favorite games. I'll see you in the next investigation. Thank you for watching.